Hey guys, so these are my new glasses which I picked up on Friday. They are plastic frames and they are a little different than my old glasses, but I've kind of grown to like them because, they seem to be working pretty well so far, and I think they look pretty good on me so far. But it's just nice having an extra pair of glasses because for a long time, I just had the one pair, and fortunately for me, nothing ever happened to them. But just in case it ever did, I'd reached the point where it's just like I should have a backup pair of glasses. So I mean, it's one of the things I tried to get organized about. And so when I got my last pair of glasses last year, I said in a year I'm going to come back and get another set and have a backup set of glasses. So these are them, and I have the other one as a backup pair just in case I ever need them. But for the time being, I'm pretty satisfied with these, so I'm definitely glad I went. And in writing news, I finished a short story yesterday, and I have started a new one, which will all be tied in with an announcement I'll make sooner or later whenever I feel comfortable, officially declaring a project in progress. Um, as you know, I've kind of been, I don't necessarily know if I'd want to say stuck, but just kind of a little bit hesitant or anxious or afraid or something of nothing I can really articulate at this particular time. I might talk about it at some other point. But I think for the most part, I've sort of figured out how to work around my brain, if that kind of makes any kind of sense. Because a lot of the things that I would be hesitant about doing, if I could just find a way to just get myself to do them, then the fear of not being able to get it done or whatever happened to be slowing me down goes away and it starts getting a little bit better. So I'm trying to sort of keep that momentum going. And I appreciate everybody, all of you who watch my videos and who read my stories and all of this stuff, because it really does mean a lot to me, and it really helps keep me motivated. So definitely, I appreciate everybody who is paying attention to what I'm putting out there. And let's see. Okay, the new story I started is kind of a little. I guess it's a lot of these stories in this current set that I'm working on are part of a larger project that I'll be talking about soon. And it is also, in particular, a bunch of stretches for me because they're all topics that I either usually avoid on purpose or just don't really focus on that much because of a few reasons. Combination of personal comfort, work, write what you know, and all that other stuff, and some things that are just things I have never quite understood. But it's a good exercise in that it's teaching me and keeping my writing muscles limber and flexible to do things that I have not really written about before. The current one that I'm working on right now happens to be set during the period of the Black Death, and it has religious themes or religious aspects to it, but not exactly what you'd kind of expect. And of course, it's part of the Blue Moon universe, and in hopefully soon I will feel comfortable talking about that, and I will be able to elaborate more on that and other things as we go forward. Now, the dentist visit went well. I am glad I went. I try and go every 6 months, or at least I have been while I was insured. Now that well, at least for the moment, I'm still insured, at least until the end of November. But the next appointment that I make in March, well, hopefully I'll be either re-employed or have figured things out by then. But I strongly recommend that if you're one of those people that's like me that used to avoid the dentist, try not to do that. It's like it's it's one of those things where it's just I guess kind of like a lot of things with me. If you're afraid of it, if you avoid it, it just gets worse because it doesn't go away, and it's one of those things that you have to tackle at some point. Now, for a long time, I used to do what I call dental chicken, where I would not go for years, and then there would be a problem, and then I would be terrified the night before of what they were going to tell me and how big the bill was going to be, whether or not I would be able to handle the sudden unexpected expense. And most of the time I was. I think once I had asked my mom for money. I try not to play that card because adultivity. But in this particular case, I mean, first time, and I'll tell you a quick story. It's like at 2008, and I was telling Shrag the story earlier. Like, I remember Midwest Fur Fest 2008, particularly because I had a temporary crown at the time. And it was the first temporary crown that I think I'd ever had, and I was terrified, justifiably or not, that the temporary crown would come off when I was at the con, or that something would happen there, and that I would be in trouble. It's like, what do you do when you need to find a dentist and you're out of town? Fortunately for me, it was a baseless fear, but still, it was just one of those things that is one of the stories that I remember about Midwest Fur Fest 2008, and perhaps at some point I might even do a video on that specific convention, because I do remember that con pretty well for a few landmark milestones for me. And it was just a good convention. I had a very good time there, despite the fact that I was having anxiety tummy issues, which if you ask Angel, she can tell you all about that. But it was kind of before I figured some things out, and it was also the very, very beginning of the Lauren Fursuit era, which of course it made its debut at the Anthrocon of that year. And a lot of conventions I don't remember well enough to really have a lot of stories about, but MFF 2008 is kind of a little bit of an exception for a few reasons, and at some point that might be another future video topic that I might have to talk about. But insofar as the temporary crown is concerned, to not get too far off topic, is that with the temporary crown, then I had to go and get permanent crowns placed, and then I kind of did the same thing, and I avoided the dentist for a few years, and then after a few years I ended up having to go back to the dentist, and I think I had felt a chipped tooth in my mouth or something, and then there was just that whole, oh my god, what is going on? And after I got that fixed, and I think I needed a couple more crowns after that, I just said at that point, this is ridiculous. You just need to stop doing this, because this just it drives you crazy, it messes with your money, and it's all stuff that you just don't want to do. So if you just go to the dentist on a regular basis, then you can just get it done. And there's nowhere nowhere I think that, particularly in dentistry, where this is true, where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Like, if you just go every 6 months or at least once a year, get a professional cleaning, get them to look at it, brush your teeth, keep up with it, then you just have so much less to worry about. And then whenever you do have to go, it's just a checkup, a cleaning, and you're done. So, if you don't have a good dentist, maybe try another one. It's like, I really just can't recommend enough keeping up with your dental hygiene. And now, as far as the name change, so I can talk about that a little bit. So Monday, I went to go about getting what I needed to submit the paperwork to the county for a petition of a legal name change. Now, things might be different in your state, but at least as far as I can tell, for what I was told, I had to go and get a fingerprint card, which I thought initially the first time I went to the district clerk's office that I could get that done there. Well, it turns out that due to COVID-19, they are not doing that at the moment. So what I had to do was I had to go out of town into Pearland to a company called Identigo. And after I waited outside for a little bit, somebody came out and I was able to go inside, because they're only allowed to have so many people in the room, or at least they only allow so many people around at the time. And I told them what I needed, and they just said, stick your fingers here. And they had this little scan pad on the desk. Now, I don't know why. I guess I was just stuck in the past, because I was just expecting, black ink and stuff where you press your thumb against the paper and you got black fingertips for the next 24 hours. Well, apparently the future is here, because I was just able to just literally scan my fingerprints just like you would scan a document in a scanner. And then they handed me these two printout piece of papers with all your fingerprints in a neat little grid, and that was that. So then I headed back to the district clerk's office with 2 copies of these fingerprint card, and I kept one because they only needed one for the paperwork. I had the petition already filled out, except I had a couple of questions. I wasn't sure what to put, as far as the reason for the name change, and I think that was really the only thing I wasn't sure about. But they walked me through it, and then they said, you got to get this signed with the notary. Now, fortunately for me, they said we have a notary downstairs in the collections office on the first floor. So I went down the elevator, got the signature notarized, paid the fee, and then came back upstairs. Now, they had given me a packet of papers that they said you need to fill these out too, and if you want, you can just fill them out while you're here and then just give them all to me at once. Well, since I really didn't want to have to come back any more than I have to, I know I probably need to go back at least once more to update some paperwork as far as my business. But this is all new to me, so I was just kind of trying to make it as streamlined as possible, which changing your name doesn't seem to be all that complicated. It's just a lot of steps so far. So she gave me these papers. I filled out some more papers, and then I went back downstairs to get the second sheet notarized. And now, fortunately, the gentleman remembered me from a little while ago, and he didn't charge me the second time. So I said, okay, thank you, and went back upstairs, and then dropped off the big packet, and $280 later, that is in the court system. Now, supposedly, according to what she told me, the court clerk should have picked it up today, and she said that give it about a week or a week and a half, and then call them and check on the status. Now, I'm not sure what the next step is. It is one of two things. Either I know they said they're not doing a lot of in-person court appearances because of coronavirus, but it might be something like a webcam, like I did with the Star Trek actors, or like I'm doing right now with you guys. Communicate through technology, but maybe all they need to do is just review the paperwork and sign off on it. But hopefully not. But I mean, if it is something that I need to go somewhere and do, or if I need to talk to a judge on webcam, it's like I'll do what I have to do, because I mean, it's one thing that I think I'm getting stronger about in these past several weeks of being between employment, as far as determining what I'm going to do. I think it's helped a lot that I've had the time to just sort of breathe and just do things on my own pace. And I'll have to talk about that more when I have a chance to discuss that particular topic. But insofar as the name change goes, I have to wait about a week and a half before I can check in with them. So I guess Wednesday or sometime in the second half of next week, I will call the office and see what the next step is. And once that part is done, once I have the court order in my hand, then I can either contact the Social Security office, which I'm not exactly sure what the status is of that. That will require a little bit of research. Or the Department of Public Safety to get a driver's license updated. And then once those are done, I think, offhand anyway, I know I have to check with the Copyright Office to update the copyright on my first book. And I also have to speak to the bank and the credit card company to get that stuff updated, and probably a lot of other companies here and there to just update that information, see what they need. I mean, it's a lot of stuff and a lot of steps, but I think for the most part, they give you a good amount of time to get this stuff done. It's like DPS, I know, is 30 days from when your name has officially been changed to get a new license. And I don't know about Social Security, but I would imagine they would be something similar, whatnot. But they are theoretically one of my two next stops. But once I get the Social Security and the license switched over, then I talk to the bank, and then we work our way down the line. So, if you're transgender and you're pondering changing your name, do your homework, and if you have any stories, I would be interested to hear them, I suppose. But don't share anything you're not comfortable with sharing, because above all, it's like we want to keep everybody safe on the internet, such. But if you have any good anecdotes or anything, feel free to let me know. But other than that, so far so good. So that's all for now.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!